And I believe the recording has started. Welcome everyone to the SIG Instrumentation meeting today. It is currently September 3rd, 2020. And I believe we have one item on the agenda currently. I strongly encourage people to go ahead, take a look at the agenda, add items if you have things that are missing, and mark your name down under attendees. And we have an item from Chelsea about the new event API GA graduation.
Yes. I have a question. So am I able to share the screen? I want to share
I think I might have to make you a co-host in order to do that, but I can't do that. So
thanks.
Try now.
Yeah, great. So let me do this. Yeah, I can share the screen right now. So
great. Would you be able to increase the size a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Awesome.
How about this? Okay, cool. So, okay, I will get started. So, hi everybody, my name is Chelsea. So today I'm going to give a brief overview of the new event API project, and I will also give a summary of the work that has been done so far for this project. So here is the cap for this project. So basically includes the original design doc. Yeah, so this project was initially proposed and designed by Merrick. His GitHub ID is gmerrick a few years ago. So this is a pretty old proposal. So so many people might not hear about this project before. Let's go downstairs, go down. So yeah, so the motivation for this project is that the old events are very spammy and with very unclear schematics, so which makes events not that useful. And also there are some well-known performance problems caused by the old events. For example, all events can potentially overload the API server, especially when a cluster is in an unhealthy state. So the goal of the new events API is to improve those issues. Okay, so now let's look at the design. Yeah, so first there are some API changes. As you can see, here is the new event structure. So there are some new fields added and also some deprecated. But it's not very clear from this structure. Let's go down. And here is a table that shows the comparison between the old and the new event APIs. Yeah, from the table, you can easily tell that there are some API changes. So for example, like the involve object has been renamed to regarding, and also there is a related new field added. So this is basically represents the second object that is related to the event. And we also have a new action field, which basically means what action was taken for this event. And then we also have message field was renamed to notes, and the source field was deprecated, but instead reporting controller and reporting instance fields came from the original source field, and they are added to the new API. And we also deprecate the first timestamp, last timestamp, and count fields, but instead we have new event type, event time field, and also there's a new series field. So this field it gives information about whether it's a singleton or sequential event. And let's go up to the structure. So the series field is basically a structure, and it has count field and also the last observed time. This state field has already been deprecated and removed from 1.18. So yeah, so this is the overall changes in the API. So I think the biggest change is actually how we deduplicate events and how we limit the number of API requests sent to the API server. So that's described in the following section. So there's a very important assumption that we make for the for deduplication logic in the new event API. So that is events with the same regarding, action, reason, reporting controller, reporting instance related tuples. They are considered as isomorphic events. Yeah, so this assumption is very important because it's how we define the isomorphic events, and it also decides how we update the new event series in the event recorder. And the deduplication logic in the event recorder is described in the next session. So how does that work? So first, when a new event is emitted for the first time, it will be written to the API server, and it's considered as a singleton event. And next, when the isomorphic event is emitted within the threshold, which means the first event hasn't been deleted from the cache, the event recorder will start recording and updating the series view for the events. And then all the subsequent isomorphic events don't result in any API calls. They only update the series view for the event in the event recorder. And yeah, so, and then in every 30 minutes, the event recorder will create an like heartbeat call. It's basically an update call to the API server in order to periodically update user on number of occurrences of the events. And you also prevent the garbage collection in etcd. Yeah, so basically this every 30-minute call is how the event recorder update the API server about the isomorphic events. And other than that, the event recorder also goes through each entry in its cache every 6 minutes. So this check, the goal of this check is to see if there's any attempt to emit event in the last 6 minutes. If not, then the event recorder will send the last call to for the isomorphic event to the API server, and then it will delete the entry from the cache for this event. So let's see, there is an example here. So yeah, you can see when the first event occurs, it looks like this, and it doesn't have the series view set. And if within the threshold, if there's a second, like the same event, isomorphic event happens, then the event recorder will start recording the series view for the new event, for this event. And then for all the subsequent occurrences of the same event, you will just update the series view in the cache, and then every 30 minutes it will send to the API server to update the event. Yeah, so, and yeah, that's the overall design of the new event API and how it's being used in the event recorder. Yeah. Okay, so then let's go down. Yeah, now let's look at the performance impact. So as for the performance impact of the new event API, we haven't done any formal testing for that yet, but here's some estimation for the performance changes. So we will potentially emit more events for pop creation, and events will definitely be bigger because we are adding more views to the API, to the structure. But good thing is that we will emit less events for hot loops. And this table shows the memory usage in the performance test in cluster of various sizes. And so the estimation is that because we are adding more fields to the new events, so the increase of the event size probably will be bounded by like 30%. And then we probably will emit more events for pod creation, and that impact can be bounded by 20%. So the overall estimation is that the worst case in the increase in event size will be bounded by 56%. So yeah, so we believe that this can be easily afforded by the memory. So yeah, that's the estimation of the performance. And also, as for backward compatibility, from this table, you will see three types of event structures. The first column is the internal events, and it's basically the internal representation of the event structure in API server. And then the second one is the core event. This is the old event types. And then the new event is events.event. Yeah, so you can see these three event structures, they have been updated to be backward compatible to each other. That means we can easily convert between any two of them. Yeah, and yeah, that's the overall like design for this project. So after Merrick proposed this design, he implemented the new events API as V1 Beta 1 API, and in 1.19, I have graduated the new event API from V1 Beta 1 to V1, so now it's GA graduation. And other than that, I also implement a common fallback library to the event recorder so that it allows components to easily just switch between the new and the old events APIs. And currently, only Kube Scheduler has been migrated to use the new event API. So our next plan is to migrate all remaining components to use the new event API. And other than that, there's also one very important thing, which is we need to implement a load test for the new event API in order to make sure that the new event API doesn't really have any negative impact on the API server. Yeah, so that's the most important thing that in this project. So the detailed design was including this cap. So if you're interested in, you can take a look. Yeah, that's mostly. Yeah. So
thanks for the overview and the presentation. I guess my question for you, that's really great. Do you want to maybe go over, usually there's like an implementation history section in the KEP.
Okay, sure.
You want to maybe just go over that quickly to provide some context and let us know, like, thanks for presenting this. What are you hoping to get from the SIG? Are you looking for feedback? Are you looking for like assistance with implementation? Like what do you?
I think the purpose of today's presentation is just to give a like overview of this project, because this proposal was proposed a few years ago. So I heard that I was told by Han that many people that pretty new to this instrumentation community might not know this project because it's pretty old. So he wants me to give a like overview because I was previously working on this. Yeah, so that's the purpose for today's presentation. Yeah, so do you want me to go through the implementation history here?
Yeah, I think just briefly that would be helpful because if I'm remembering correctly, this was like a super old KEP that like never kind of got finished up, and now I think this new version of it got merged in April, and so that would, I think, be helpful context for folks. And thanks so much for coming to give this presentation today.
Yeah. Okay, so so you can see like 3 years ago, this KEP was created here. This proposal was created here, and then yeah, same year, the new API, new event API group was added to the API group, and then yeah, so and after that we can see also also the schedule has been migrated. So I believe this is like 2 years ago, sometime 2 years ago. Yeah, I couldn't really remember. Yeah, like last year. Yeah, so the proposal was pretty old, but the implementation hasn't been done so much. And then after the schedule has been migrated, some people also try to migrate the other components, but because other components have they are too complicated, so the events are used in many places, so it's kind of hard to migrate. So those I believe those hasn't been finished yet. Yeah, so and then in 1.19, I chose to pick up this project, and then I updated CAP and also graduate the API, new API to GA, and yeah, and then we plan for the next step is to migrate the remaining components to use the new events. Yeah. So that's the overall implementation history and the future plan for this project.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Chelsea?
So I have a question. Is there a recommended usage for the related object? Because I guess the regarding just translates from the old events, right? And the related, like there's only one related field.
Are you talking about the structure, like the related field here? Sorry, what's your question again?
Okay. Sorry, I missed the comment. So creation, deletion of related objects. So let's say a pod emits an event that it, I don't know, created a PVC or something like that. Right? Is that the correct understanding?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just relative field is just the secondary relative object for this event. Yeah, so yeah, if you have any questions about the fields in the structure, you can definitely go to the API to check. I believe the comments in for each field is enough to understand those fields. Yeah. Any other questions?
Doesn't sound like anything. If somebody, go ahead.
I have a comment. It looks like there are several work in progress, but not like have a detailed plan for migrating all the components using this new API. Maybe we can update this CAP to include a series of like issues or feature requests for saying updating to cover all the components to use migrate all the components to use the new API. And we in the SIG instrumentation, for example, if I'm interested, I can help with some of the implementations.
Sure. Yeah, I will update the CAP too. Yeah, and I haven't updated the CAP after I implement the graduation. So yeah, I will definitely update that and include more future plan. Thanks.
I think usually CAPs go with a related feature enhancement issue, and this issue is usually used to track the work by, which is also really important for visibility by the release team. So like using this issue, release team can make sure that enhancement is properly tracked throughout the cycle of the Kubernetes release. So I think those tasks could be put into here a list of components would be useful, but at the end it should be tracked separately, because I think historically there was a problem with updating list of tasks that need to be done on CAP, at least from some of them.
Sorry, Merrick, I had a hard time understanding you. Your audio is a little bit garbled.
So I think I caught what he said. So we should use the feature issue that the KEP is linked to track the work items. It may be useful to have a list of components as part of the KEP, but actually tracking and the completion of all the individual items should be done in the feature issue.
I see.
That sounds good to me.
Thanks.
I know that this stuff like changes almost every release cycle, it feels like sometimes. So staying on top of what the latest best practices is always super helpful. Anything else for this topic?
I'll say thanks for sharing this. This topic actually came up within my work team this week. Although it came from a different standpoint. Someone was asking about cloud events and that standard, and it was pointed out that the events API is kind of different, a different approach to doing that. would there be any sort of possibility of wrapping cloud events on top of what comes out of Event API?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Would it be possible to write like a wrapper layer on top of cloud events that would allow emitting, taking what comes out of Event API and emitting it out as a cloud event standard event?
I'm not sure if I can answer this question.
I think I know what's being discussed there. So there's been like, I think there's an issue in the Kubernetes.
It came up like last November.
Yeah, that continues to kind of like come up, and there's like a question as to whether or not Kubernetes itself should offer event compatibility with cloud events. And typically the like general sentiment has been no, we should not do this, but because that's like sort of an implementation specific detail. I mean, you feel free to like raise that. Like, I mean, if there's like, you know, if you could propose a KEP to make it happen or something like that, you know, certainly I think people would be happy to consider that.
Yeah, I need to go back and reread the KEP and the cloud events spec again and see if there's any way to mesh them.
Yeah, I think the overall like conclusion was that we are not sure that the events in Kubernetes are the same type of events that are in open. Sorry, I didn't remember. And the second one was if the best way to start that, like convince or like propose this idea would be to implement a wrapper or translation layer, like outside of the community, and look if it gets adoption. So it should be pretty simple, like to just like write a I know, a couple hundred Golang module that will read events from Kubernetes and publish them as cloud events to prove that there is an interest in that feature. Like if it gets adoption, it should be pretty proof that we should change our approach. So Kubernetes approach is events are for debugging and to give information within cluster about debugging. They're not actionable by any automation. This is current approach technically, or this is how it was documented in original like proposals for events.
Keeping an eye on time, we've got 5 minutes left. I wanted to quickly follow up on the discussion from last week about tests, or sorry, not last week, but 2 weeks ago. What's going on with the end-to-end tests? And I don't know if anybody has any other business, but if you do, feel free to add it to the agenda. I did actually also have one other item from SIG, or they're not SIG PM anymore. But the folks who are helping with triage, but I think that will probably fall over to our triage session next week. So just wanted to ask folks, we had like one action coming out of last week with respect to the stack driver tests. And we also had another, like we went over a few different issues in terms of instrumentation end-to-end tests flaking or not passing. Do we have any updates from folks on that stuff? And that might be mostly directed at David and Merrick.
So Han actually pointed out that the test that I was looking at had one flake, but it actually looks like across the entire Kubernetes test grid, the flake has reoccurred a couple times. I still doubt that it's related to instrumentation. It looks like there's actually just pods that aren't coming up as part of the test. But yeah, it's still on my plate, and I haven't gotten the chance to look into it again yet.
Okay.
Yeah, similar case on like similar. Yeah, I need to look into that. I think you mentioned that was interested, so I can also sync with him. But yeah, I should have some updates next week. In next 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'll have some sync with Merrick. I'm sorry, I got assigned like 1 or 2 bugs, but I just didn't have time in the past week for looking at that. I will make some time so I can have some updates in the next meeting.
Great.
Thanks,
Sorry, I'm trying to take notes and listed at the same time, and I'm not succeeding. Any other updates on that topic? Sounds like no. Do we have any other business? We only have 3 minutes, so I'm going to defer this feature tracking thing to the triage meeting or the next SIG meeting. Okay, sounds like no new topics. With the time that we have left, I'd like to let folks know that we have in like 2 minutes, there's a 119 release retrospective happening that SIG Release is running. So if you are interested in attending that, I strongly recommend that you attend. I am planning on going at least for the first 30 minutes. Do we have any new faces on the SIG meeting that would like to introduce themselves in the last couple of minutes we have left?
Hi, my name is Keiko. I'm from Microsoft, and currently I'm working on AKS, so the monitoring piece is very important, and it's good to actually be here.
Oh, hey, Keiko. I was like, wow, that's a familiar voice. It's wonderful to have you here.
Yeah, it's great. And by the way, I'm not doing monitoring anymore, but again, this is a very important area for us, so that's why I started attending some of the SIGs now.
Awesome. Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I always will go. Hi, guys. I'm Andrew. I'm from Axiom Zen and Dapper Labs. I've actually been to SIG Instrumentation meetings a bunch of times before, but I've been absent for a number of months, so I'm back. And yeah, I'm not contributing to the project, but I'm building basically hosted Kubernetes systems that all of our subsidiary companies use. So I spend a lot of time dealing with Kubernetes monitoring. So I drop by when I can.
It's great to have you back. Anyone else on the call want to say hi? Sounds like no. And we're at the top of the hour. So I think that's a wrap. Thanks everybody for attending this week, and see you in 2 weeks. Cheers, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.